Hey there, it's Christina Johnson here, health and weight loss coach, and here's what we're going to talk about today. So when I am first starting to work with new clients, they will often send me pictures of different foods that they have in their house already or food that they're thinking about buying at the grocery store, and they just want my opinion on whether or not these are healthy options to buy. So I'll get pictures of all kinds of things like protein powders and granola bars and salad dressings, just, anything you can think of. And here's what I've learned after answering hundreds of these questions over the past few years. Food manufacturers and marketers have gotten really, really good at making foods appear like they're healthy when they're really not. And so it gets really confusing and often overwhelming for people to figure out which foods are the healthy ones to be buying and which ones aren't. And honestly, I think it's really frustrating for a lot of people when you're trying to make good choices. You're going to the store, you're spending more money on foods that appear to be healthier or organic, and then you find out later that there's all this sugar and chemicals and all these other things added to it. And so it's really frustrating. And so what I want to do today is just to give you kind of two particular traps to watch out for when you are shopping for food so that you don't get sucked into buying things that aren't really the best option for you. And then I have a few other tips just to help you more practically know what's healthy to buy at the store and what's not. So before I do that, I am curious to know, do you ever find it confusing when you're buying food? Is it ever hard to know if something is actually a healthy option or not? So just click the like button or put me in the comments if you have ever second guessed whether or not something is, a good and healthy option. Okay, so here are a couple traps to watch out for. So the first one is this. Just to be very, very aware of the packaging on the food products that you buy and the claims that are made on labels. So, a lot of food manufacturers know that, health conscious consumers are looking for things that are organic and natural and gluten-free and don't have sugar. And so if you go to stores, you'll find all of these products that have all of those words on them: gluten-free, sugar-free, low-fat, low-calorie. But here's the problem. Just because something is organic doesn't mean it's healthy. I mean, I've seen organic candy. Well, just because the candy is organic doesn't mean that that candy and that sugar is still good for us. Or another trap that a lot of people fall into is, they'll find something that's gluten-free and, then they'll assume it's healthy. Well, just because something is gluten-free, it might still, and usually does, have a bunch of rice flour and other flours and sugars that are going to spike your blood sugar and cause insulin to start storing fat. So we got to watch out for that. Sugar-free is another huge trap because, again, most of us want to reduce or avoid sugar, but just because something is sugar-free does not mean that it hasn't been sweetened. Oftentimes, it will then be sweetened with artificial sweeteners, and those, research shows, can be just as problematic in different ways as sugar. So it can affect your hormones, your hunger, it can affect your ability to lose weight, so we gotta watch out for that too. So that's really my first tip is just know that manufacturers are smart. They know that a lot of us are looking for healthy food options. And so just because something looks healthy on the outside, it doesn't mean it's healthy. Another example that just popped in my mind are Cliff Bars. They have the picture of the mountain climber on the outside of the wrapper. It makes it look really healthy, like active athletes are eating these bars. But then you look at the bars and they have quite a bit of sugar added to them. So that is trap number one, is just watch out for the claims and be careful. Just, be aware that just because it looks healthy, it may not necessarily be healthy. The second trap to watch out for is kind of similar, but it is just because you find something from a healthy brand or at a healthy store doesn't mean that everything there is going to be healthy. So I can tell you for sure there are foods at Whole Foods that, yes, Whole Foods is amazing, has lots of great products, but there are things there that I'm not going to buy because I don't consider them, right for me and my body and my health goals. This is true too. I have a subscription to Thrive Market, like an online grocery store. I love Thrive Market. They have a lot of great options. And so I had somebody once who placed an order from Thrive Market, and then she got it and she told me, I ordered all these things assuming they were going to be healthy because it was from Thrive Market, but then a couple of the things had added sugar in it. So just know that just because you're in a health food store or it's a healthy brand, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything there is going to be clean and healthy and sugar-free. Okay, so what do we do then? How do we figure out if something is healthy or not? So my first tip for you, and this is just kind of a blanket statement, I feel like I just have to put it out there, but it is to reduce the amount of processed food you're eating. I would say that probably 95% of the time when somebody is asking me, is this food product healthy or not, it is a processed food. I mean, typically, if it's a real food, if it's vegetable, fruit, meat, quinoa, people aren't having to ask if that's healthy or not. That's pretty cut and dried. It's the processed foods that tend to be a lot more confusing. And it's the processed foods that are often the ones that are full of sugar and chemicals and inflammatory oils. So just by cutting back how many processed foods you buy and increasing the real foods that you're eating, you're going to be making better choices just kind of by default. So that's my first tip. But let's say you are going to buy processed food. How do you figure out which ones are healthy options and which ones should just be left at the grocery store? So my number one tip for you is that you have to read the ingredient labels. I think over the last 30, 40 years, we've been trained to look at calories, look at the grams of fat. We look at all the nutrition facts on a label, which can give some good information, but the most important information, I believe, is to look at the list of ingredients. You want to know what ingredients are being put into this food that you're about to buy and then eat. We want to buy food that has good quality ingredients. So look where it says ingredients and then read that whole list, everything that's in that food product. We want to avoid things like sugar. We want to avoid inflammatory oils like soybean oil, canola oil, sunflower seed oil. We want to avoid a lot of chemicals and preservatives and food dyes, all these things that are just toxic to the human body. And also, we really need to be aware of how many things we're buying with so many food sensitivities. So there's things that are more commonly known to be food sensitivities for more people, things like wheat or gluten, corn, and soy. And I will tell you, I pretty strictly avoid soy because it just is inflammatory for my body. And it is tricky to find processed foods that don't use soy in some form. So if you're looking at the ingredient label underneath where it says may or contains, and then usually it lists out the top allergens, so many food products contain soy and contain corn and contain wheat. And those are foods that just tend to be more inflammatory for quite a few people. And so you just want to look and see, are the foods you're buying every single day, are they containing a lot of corn and soy and wheat and things that, might be causing inflammation for you? Just to kind of give you an example, because I do recommend you read the ingredient list on everything. So today, I was at the grocery store earlier this morning, because we're having people over for supper tonight. We're grilling hamburgers, and I don't usually buy pickles, but I decided, I should have some pickles on hand. And so I went to go grab a jar, and I was starting to put it in my cart, and I should probably read the ingredient list. And so, what do you know? I thought pickles were, pretty simple. Cucumbers and water, maybe vinegar, salt. But I had to go through, 3 or 4 different brands of pickles before I found one that had acceptable ingredients. One of the brands had high fructose corn syrup in it. Another one had a food dye. It was just all these different things in it that I didn't want to be eating. So you really do need to read the label on everything. I've had people find sugar in their garlic salt. Gluten is found in taco seasoning. Like, you never know what is in a product until you read the ingredient list. And so that is my best advice, is to read that ingredient list and then go from there. You know, I had somebody just recently show me a protein powder by a reputable company that's kind of in the health space. And that protein powder had 15 or more grams of sugar in it, which is a lot. So we have to read the ingredient labels in order to make wise decisions. So that is my challenge from you after watching this video, is just start reading ingredient labels. Look at what's in the products that you're eating and then make decisions based on that. So if you are wanting to learn more about what's actually healthy, what is going to support your body in losing weight in a healthy, sustainable way, then I'd love for you to reach out to me and we can schedule a time to chat so we can talk more about what your goals are, and I can give you some recommendations on what the next best steps are to help you lose weight and feel just comfortable in your body. So if you're interested, send me a message or go to ChristinaJohnsonWellness.com/apply. Or like I said, send me a message and we will find a time to chat and see how I can help you lose weight in a healthy, sustainable way. So if you have any questions at all, put them in the comments. I hope this was helpful for you today, and thanks so much for watching until the end. Bye.